welcome back to Event About It, the Dynamic Dialogue After Show. I'm your host, Megan Martin, and I'm here today with Jay Schwedelson. And a quick reminder for those that don't know Jay, he's the founder of SubjectLine.com, the leading free subject line rating tool ranked in the top 1% of all websites worldwide, where he's tested more than 15 million subject lines. Also the founder of Guru Media Hub, which hosts the Guru Conference, the world's largest email marketing event, and the upcoming Eventastic, digital free, all things events for event people. And his podcast, Do This, Not That for Marketers, is among the most popular in the United States and has been ranked #1 out of over 50,000 marketing podcasts in the entire country. And through his agency, Outcome Media, his team executes over 40,000 marketing campaigns annually for many of the world's most iconic and successful brands. Quite accomplished, Jay.
I don't know what's going on there. Something. It gives me stress hearing that. But all right.
I mean, I even cut out some of the things that you have, like Hall of Fame at your university, all the things.
I hate it all, but I thank you for saying it. I appreciate it, but it's nails on a chalkboard.
I get it. Well, that kind of leads into a little bit. My very first question for you. You posted this on, I think, Instagram the other day about imposter syndrome and what everybody gets about it wrong. Yeah. I myself fight this all the time, especially with launching this podcast and for the first time really kind of standing behind my brand and who I am and fighting imposter syndrome a lot these days. Yeah. So what you posted is that what people get wrong about is that it takes 50,000 hours to be an expert. And that doesn't help anyone who has imposter syndrome. So what brought you to this conclusion and what can we do to fight imposter syndrome?
Yeah. So Malcolm Gladwell in his book, Outliers,
which is an amazing book, by the way. We'll link to it. It's like, I love Malcolm Gladwell.
I love Malcolm Gladwell also. But in that book, he talked about the fact that you need 10,000 hours to be considered an expert. And it really was about these violinists who spend 10,000 hours to become the greatest violinists in the world and all this stuff. And it then, because Outliers was so popular, it then turned into this thing that in order to be an expert in something, you need to first spend 10,000 hours doing that thing. And I think it really fueled a lot of imposter syndrome out there because everyone's like, well, I've only been doing this for 6 months. I've only been doing this for 2 years. I mean, you literally would need to spend 5 years, 40 hours a week to get to the 10,000 hours. And I think that's total garbage. And even Malcolm Gladwell, a few years later, said that what he put in the book kind of got misconstrued and turned all around because you don't need the 10,000 hours to be an expert, because you could spend 10,000 hours doing something and still not be an expert. You just wasted 10,000 hours.
Right.
And really, it's just about getting out there and doing the thing. Every single person has imposter syndrome every single day. It doesn't matter who you are, the most successful people on earth. And it's just a matter of trying and doing stuff. It's like, okay, never did a podcast, try it. You might do terrible, but then 20 episodes in, you'll be a lot better. You never hosted a webinar, try it. You'll get better at it. You don't know about AI, spend 30 days trying to figure it out. You'll become more knowledgeable than 99% of the people on the planet. So I think imposter syndrome, we all have it. And you don't grow by doing the stuff that you always do. You grow by doing the stuff you're uncomfortable doing. So kind of getting comfortable, being uncomfortable, I think is how you become successful.
Agreed. I think the only person I've ever heard say they don't have imposter syndrome is Martha Stewart, which, I mean, at some point in her life, she must have had it.
Well, I'll tell you a funny story about Martha Stewart. So I had the opportunity to interview Martha Stewart. And so before I interviewed her, we were about to go live for this event. She goes, listen, the only thing it is, when you interview me, please don't bring up the fact that I was in jail. And I was like, I would never do that. Well, I said, I promise you, I would never do that. So then we go live. And one of the first questions I said to her, I go, Martha, tell us how to overcome failure. Have you ever had big failure in your life? I'm like, you look like you're so successful in everything you do. She goes, well, I was in jail and I overcame that. And I was like, what happened? And then she went on a rant for like 10 minutes about being in jail. And I was like, what happened? But she was the coolest. She's the coolest person ever.
No, I've been obsessed with her for a long time. I'd love to meet her one day. But to closing out the imposter syndrome in the same context of Malcolm Gladwell, I don't know if you're part of his book club, the Next Big Idea Club. I'm a big fan. Love it.
I'm not. That's cool.
Yeah. He started it with Dan Pink, Susan Cain, Adam Grant, which also some of my favorites. And in Adam Grant's most recent book, he talked about imposter syndrome quite a bit. And how to reframe it so that it's sort of your own checks and balances system. And it actually can be a really big superpower to help you think through and kind of check yourself like, am I really bad at this or am I just having imposter syndrome? And how
Yeah.
you can reframe that to actually help you succeed,
Love
in
that.
more things. So
Yeah,
yeah, you should check out their book club. It's
I
amazing. They
will.
send you books every quarter of like the newest, greatest social science research coming out. I've had books that literally changed my life come out of
Wow.
their book
Love
club. It's
that.
pretty cool. Into some more email marketing things. What's one myth you wish would just die and go away about email marketing?
I think the idea that open rates are no longer important. There's a lot of talk out there that, oh, open rates are inflated. The open rates, you send out, 100,000 emails, 20,000 emails get open, you have a 20% open rate in your tracking report. And everyone's like, well, they're irrelevant now because there's so much inflation of them because Apple sends back, they're all open, there are bots out there, all this stuff. So people say, don't think about the open. And I think that's ridiculous because so opens are no longer an absolute metric. So if you go in your tracking report today and it says you had a 37% open rate, that's not true. You didn't. Okay, it's not absolute because of all the inflation that's out there, but directionally, it's crazy valuable. What I mean is that let's say you do an A/B test on a subject line. One subject line you use an emoji, another subject line you don't, and you hit send, and the one with the emoji got a 40% open rate, the one without it at a 25% open rate. Directionally, the one with the emoji did much, much better. So open rates have incredible value. And when they get discounted out in the universe, it drives me nuts.
And where would you put that as a metric compared to a reply or a click through rate? In the same vein, they're both important, or is one more important than the other?
Yeah, I would say they're all important for their own reasons, right? If you don't get the email open, who cares what's inside the message, right? But ultimately, if you don't get a click, then that's a problem too, and the trickle down effect goes on and on and on. And I would say, I guess the other biggest thing, that myth or whatever that drives me bonkers, is this idea of spam trigger words, or people believing still that, and I don't care who you market to, it could be people in the education sector, healthcare, retail, it doesn't matter your industry or how boring it is. People think that the reason that you go to the junk folder, spam folder, are you put the word free in your subject line, or you put brackets in your subject line, or use an emoji or capitalization or an exclamation mark or whatever. You do not go to the junk folder, spam folder anymore because of spam trigger words, because of symbols, because of capitalization. That is from 10 years ago. And there's still this proliferation of these spam trigger word lists or things that you should avoid. And it's total garbage and it's not true. And I think it holds back marketers a lot. So that's the other one that drives me bonkers.
Good miss. What I mean, you've tested so many different subject lines and A/B testing and all the things. What's something that surprised you that kind of made you rethink everything?
I think the fact that it's always changing. You think email's been around forever. Like, oh, okay, this is how you do it. This is what works in the subject line. This is what works here. But it's not, it isn't true. So I'll give you an example. It used to be forever that title casing would work, where in the subject line, you capitalize the first letter of every word. And that would give you a slight lift, right? In the percentage of people opening up, it stands out a little bit in your subconscious, whatever. For some reason, in the last 6 months or so, we've seen title casing now have absolutely no impact, doesn't help at all. As a matter of fact, what does work really well is no titling whatsoever, not even the first letter of the first word, right? And maybe that's because AI would never recommend that. So it's kind of like the opposite of AI type stuff. But the thing about email that is just both cool and annoying, it's always changing, which is so crazy to me.
I mean, isn't that the truth for so many things? I mean, we're kind of dealing
Yes.
with from an event organizer
Yeah.
architecture standpoint too, like these events that have lived on loyalty and well this is the way we've always done it doesn't work anymore because the way we consume and go to events and why we go to events is so drastically different and
Yes.
you have to keep evolving.
Agreed.
So, what do you think something that great marketers never do and average marketers always do?
Something that great marketers never do. Oh, and so I think that great marketers don't just check the box, meaning that the average marketer when they get their newsletter out, they're like, oh, thank God I got it out. And then they're thinking about next week's, they're on to the next. And what I mean by checking the box is with a lot of the marketing things that have to get done, you're checking it off that you got it done. Okay, we got our social post on our company page done today. We got, the email out the door today, without taking a step back and be like, okay, was this awesome? Did we send out something that people really want? Is this really relevant? If you're just checking the box and you're like, okay, we got it out, we posted it, whatever, then you're average. Then you're going through the motions and you're never going to get to that next level, right? So you really want to think about relevancy. You want to think about providing really thought leadership, because there's something out there called negative signal, right? Just by checking the box and sending stuff out there, if it's not awesome, you're putting your brand in front of somebody the wrong way. So when they actually are in market for the thing, they're like, well, that brand stinks, right? I see it all the time. They're boring. I don't consume their content. So make sure whatever you're doing is pretty awesome.
Agreed. I love the negative sentiment. Like,
Yeah,
not everything is gonna be a winner, but sometimes it can be, if it's average, is your brand average,
100%.
And what do you think is one of the biggest mistakes event marketers make with pre-show email campaigns? We kind of talked about it in the podcast that you hate the register CTA button. Change it to, save my spot. I want to be there, something catchier. But maybe what's something else in the pre-show emails, maybe some of the content or the subject line that event marketers miss?
Well, I think event marketers are so quick to make everybody aware that there's going to be on demand. I was like, and they'll be on demand, blah, 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 which is, I think on demand is actually ruining events, in-person events and virtual events. As a matter of fact, for my own event, we do a lot of these giant virtual events. We don't do on demand. So what we do is something called earned on demand, where you have to attend our event for at least 1 hour. Usually they're 2-day events. Once you attend for at least 1 hour, it will trigger the on-demand link once it's over. But if you don't attend for an hour, you get no on-demand. And one of the mistakes that marketers make for their in-person events or for their virtual events is in their promos, they'll be like, and on-demand will be available, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You're literally giving people the out on attending your thing. Like on demand should be at a premium, right? It shouldn't be part of your promotion cycle. And then of course, just the same garbage over and over and over again with nothing layered in there. Every time you hit send, there should be a reason the person wants to react. Like if you register today, you'll get this content bundle. If you register here, you'll get access to this area of the event. You can't just say register, register, register. It's like, who cares? You're annoying.
Well, and I love the on demand not being a marketing thing because you then immediately eliminate all the FOMO, right?
Yeah,
Like, and
done.
a hype video would be great, but like if I'm going there for the content only, like I'm not really there for networking or only
Right.
things you can get in person, then I'm like, oh, well, I'll just get it on demand. I'll watch the recordings on my own time. Like I
Oh,
immediately cut
I
out
hate it.
FOMO.
Yeah. It's like we've turned events into Netflix. Whenever you want it, it'll be there. Just watch it whenever you want. And I think it ruins it.
So what would be a good on-demand play? I like your idea of like you have to go to 1 hour of a virtual event.
No.
What would be the in-person equivalent to that you can leverage on demand and repurpose it to sort of keep that event alive for a while?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't have all your sessions be available on demand. Right. So there has to be a win for going in person, that you get access to content that other people don't. If you're making your entire event available on demand, I think that's absolutely, ridiculous. Or things like, for example, we're going to do live Q&A and only people that are attending live we're not going to make that available in the on demand stuff that we are providing. Right. Or maybe you only make the decks available on demand. You don't actually make the videos available on demand. There has to be a reason to show up live. It can't just be like everything that happens at the event, you're going to be able to get on demand. That is garbage. And everybody's a people pleaser, especially event people. They let
Yes.
the loudest voice in the room dictate their events, and it's an epic fail. If one person's jumping up and down, this isn't right, that's not fair, whatever, and they, oh my God, we got to make it so everybody feels happy. I'm a believer that if everybody is happy, everybody's like, oh my God, they nailed it, I was perfect for everybody, you're doing something wrong. Okay. It shouldn't be simple for everybody. It should be simple for the people that are paying and are showing up for sure, but not for everybody, because you have to make it somewhat exclusive. What are we doing?
I agree. And it comes into a balance then of scaled personalization, which
Yeah,
is now a lot of the talk and how do we leverage some of these AI bots and giving everyone exactly what they want,
right.
but not everybody wants the same thing. But again, to if everyone's happy and everybody's getting everything, then everyone's getting nothing.
I
So like
agree.
what is the incentive to even go? Like if I can just get it all online.
Totally.
All right. If you only had 3 emails to drive event registration, what would those subjects be? Like, what would you put in those 3 emails if you only had 3 touch points to reach people?
Wow. Um, if I had a celebrity keynote, not a keynote that nobody knows, but a legit celebrity keynote, like somebody super famous, definitely that has to be one of them because people will show up for like a massive celebrity. Like we put out Andy Cohen, great. People are all into that. Fine, done. Then you got one more coming after that. You have two left, right? So the next one coming after that would be, time's running out. We have, 412 spots left for sure. And then it is the last chance. The last chance email, and it would be a massively aggressive email where, and I'm a big fan of saying like literally, this is the last email because so many times last chances, there's 4 last chances,
Yeah.
but you want to make sure people are aware that this is literally the last chance and say it like that. It'll help out a lot.
So, how do you feel about on site registrations? Like, what if people stopped allowing people to show up and sign up on site?
I would love to see people really do that. I don't believe that will happen unless you sell out your event.
Sure.
Especially, as we head into a little bit, there's a lot of uncertainty in terms of budgets and things like that. So I think that local foot traffic is going to be a significant part of event attendance over the next, 6 to 12 months. And that's another thing, by the way. I think, when you get within 60 days of an event, a simple hack is take your marketing budget and have like 90% of it be within 100 miles of wherever your event is. Because I will tell you right now, there's a very few people on earth that within 60 days are going to get on a plane that didn't plan on it to go to your event. So you are wasting money by having any of your marketing go to people outside of 100 miles.
I would literally just on a call yesterday with an event marketer, and we were talking about leveraging event data and
Yeah,
what kind of data would they use to drive registrations in those last 4 to 6 weeks. And she said we only focus on local, so we find
100%.
out 100 miles, they went a little bit bigger than that, they did the entire state. And they were like, give me everyone who's not registered, who has registered in the past or engaged with us in the past, who lives in this state. And that's all they marketed to
And
for the
that's
last
super
4 weeks.
super smart.
Yeah, it's very, because a lot of people are driving, they're making those last minute decisions. And I think to your point, if they have to get on an airplane, they're probably registering earlier than a local person.
Yeah, there's no way. I mean, would you? I wouldn't.
Yeah, I wouldn't for sure. And we've talked a lot about sort of the leveraging email for pre-event communications. Let's switch gears a little bit to during events. Would you email attendees or non-attendees, so your audience
Mhm.
during an event?
Oh my God. We email probably, I'm not exaggerating, 10 times each day of the event to everybody and people that are not even there. And what we're doing is we'll say, so and so is taking the stage, or, this crazy thing's about to happen. And we send out emails like non-stop all day long. And it drives people bonkers. It also creates FOMO if people aren't there. Um, but that's the moment. You need to keep bringing people back. You need to keep bringing people to the right stages in person. Don't be shy during the event. Go crazy. This is it.
And that's not just people attending. So would you send the same message to people who maybe aren't registered for the event?
We do that for our virtual events because for our virtual events, you could still jump in, right? If it's an in person event, we would focus only on the people that are obviously there. But if it's virtual, we email everybody as if they were going to come because we will see a lot of people say, oh my God, I didn't realize this person was speaking. I got to jump in there and go. And that's what the subject line, it was like, oh, Anne Hanley's taking the stage or this one's taking the stage. And that's what we do.
I love that. And then your attendees who actually are there, would you send them a recap? Like, here's what happens yesterday. Maybe here's what you missed. Here's what's upcoming. I mean, most shows typically only send one email a day. It's like, here's what happened yesterday. Here's what's upcoming today. And you're saying hit them up many times
Oh
during the
yeah,
event.
we hit them up so much, and we're doing something new at Eventastic this year that we've never done before. We're working with different AI tools, and any session that you do attend, when the session ends, imagine it's like a note AI note taker, but a lot better. You're going to be getting a recap report of the session that you attended, the most notable quotes that were mentioned, the Q&A and the answers, any stats that were mentioned. For every session that you actually attended, you get this real time session report, which is going to be cool.
That is super cool. I have a feeling I might know what technology you're using for that because it's pretty
Probably,
awesome.
probably.
So, thinking about post event now, we've hit
Yes.
everybody up. We got everyone, the right people in the room. They're at the show. They had a great time. We created FOMO for next year. That post event to me is one of the most missed opportunities to drive messaging and get people engaged. Where should planners and event organizers and marketers think about that post event email? Is it
Well,
one? Is it
yeah.
multiple? What's in it?
Oh, it's definitely multiple. Um, people are hyped. Assuming you're a good event, people are hyped. They're like, "Oh my god, that was so great!" And you could. There's a couple of different things you want to think about doing. Is continue the conversation type thing. So one of the things that we did with our last year's event, I'm a big believer that communities kind of are terrible. Everybody has a community. They all stink. And what happens with communities is you start them like a Slack channel and they die, right? And it becomes a ghost town. It gets weird. So, like what we did with our Guru conference, our email one, we did a pop up community and we did it on WhatsApp. And for 30 days, we announced it right at the end of the event. Go here now and continue the conversation. We started a WhatsApp community with a bunch of different channels, and you can go there and talk to people about whatever. And it was only for 30 days. And it was only for people that attended the event. That did phenomenally well because people want to, they're like, oh, I'm so sad it's over. I want to stay connected. I want to network. I want to do. So thinking about that experience is really, really important. And then also you want to you want to make sure that you are leveraging that moment to obviously sell next year's ticket sales. You want to give them pricing that only they get access to. So really you want to think about multiple emails within 3 hours of the event ending, within 24 hours, within 48 hours. Usually you have a 48-hour window until people are like, all right, I got to go back to my regular life. But yeah, very important stuff.
Agreed. And thinking about campaigns in general, especially that post event campaign, and we've talked a lot about segmentation being really important because not every
Yeah.
message is going to resonate with everyone. What's your best approach for our listeners about segmenting? Is it by job title? Is it by behavior? So people who came to these sessions get this email. People who engaged with XYZ exhibit hall sponsors got that email. Is it by funnel stage where they are in their buying process? Like what tools or basically triggers do you use to segment?
So I kind of would, it's kind of like the art of the possible. I think one of the things is that a lot of event people are overwhelmed and they'll listen to this, be like, I could barely get an email out. I can't even segment. Are you crazy? Segment on the session they went to? I just want to get it out. My ESP's terrible, whatever. And so when I say the art of the possible is if you have the infrastructure to be able to send out dynamic, personalized follow-up emails, from the event that say you went to these 3 sessions, mark which was the best, and you went to this booth, and here's information from this booth. Amazing. Do it. It will do phenomenal. But if you are in the camp of, I just want to get it out the door, get it out the door. Just press send and do the art of the possible because it's really important for people to know that you are communicating with them. So somewhere between just getting it out the door and having it be amazing is probably where I live.
Okay. I think it also kind of depends on what data you even have. Like some people might not
Right.
even have behavior trigger data
Right.
to be able to use that. So I like that advice a lot. Okay, what's one subject line you'd never use for a conference, even if it got you clicks, that you would never use it?
I would never start out a subject line with the word register ever. I would never, if you were doing a webinar, I would never start the subject line out with the word webinar. That is like a boat anchor. You might as well just say the word boring. Okay. You know, think about the first word in your subject line, the first two words in your subject line, because people don't read the whole subject line. They read the first few words. You could write Jay's a loser at the end of a subject line. No one will see it because they just don't read it. So don't start out with something with like the word. I'll give you, there are some boat anchor words that we know actually bring down performance. If you say words like discover, nobody wants to discover anything. Learn, nobody wants to learn anything, right? Register, nobody wants, reminder. If you start with any of these words, it is like goodbye to performance. So think about how you're starting your subject line.
How do we feel about something like you're invited?
Invitation is great. I would actually just start with the word invitation, all capital letters, the entire word, invitation, colon, just for event professionals or because we love you or whatever. But invitation, all capitalized with a colon, love it.
Okay, I like that. Should event emails ever be funny or simply logistical and business buttoned up?
Well, if you want to go out of business, you want nobody to attend, they should only be business and button up for sure. People think they're in boring industries. Oh, we can't do that. It's off brand. We're in a regulated industry, whatever. It is nonsense. We're just marketing to other human beings. And the world of AI is creating a tidal wave of generic garbage. So if you don't insert humanity and humor into what you're doing, you will lose. I don't care who you're marketing to.
I again, people want fun. Like it's
Yes.
so, and especially of the event world, it's part of this podcast format being the way that it is there's so much stuffiness in our industry when we speak in a vacuum, and I got really tired of it.
Oh
Like
my,
we have to have
is.
more fun.
It is the absolute worst.
Yeah. All right. Last couple questions. We're gonna have a little more fun and less
Do
email
it.
communication. So you've spoken at some of the biggest events out there
Yeah.
coming up. You got Inbound again this
Right.
year. What's your ultimate green room must have before hitting the stage?
Oh wow. Um that's a good question. My must have probably a Celsius. Multiple Celsius. I really drink too much Celsius. And I
You know, if
think one
Celsius
day,
wants to sponsor this episode, hit
there you
me up.
go. I think one day I'll probably just fall over on stage, but probably it would be a Celsius, which is such a bad thing to say. My wife's going to kill me.
All right, Celsius. Good to know. So if you had to design your dream panel, what's the topic and who's on stage with you?
Well, I think panels are where good events go to die. So I don't know that I would actually even sit on a panel because I'm now in the camp of I don't want to do panels. I think everyone just makes it up. They shoot from the hip. Nothing useful comes out of it. You get to talk like 3 times in a half an hour. I think the panel format is a legacy from the past, and I hate it. So there you go.
Okay, let's say you're moderating a discussion. We're not calling it a panel. Like,
Right,
who
right.
is your dream person to interview?
Um, right now, it'd probably be Jesse Palmer because he's the host of The
Mm,
Bachelor. So, and he also went to the University of Florida where I went. He played in the NFL. So, I think I'd want to hang out with Jesse Palmer.
Jesse Palmer. I bet you were ecstatic with Final Four. Did you watch all the
Of
games?
course, go Gators.
Go Gators. I have funny stories. My grandfather is a diehard Seminoles fan. He
Oh,
went to Florida State, loves all all things Seminoles. And when in our family, when you graduate high school, my step grandmother makes you a quilt. So you get like this beautiful custom quilt with the colors of like where you're going to go to school. And at the time, I was thinking about going to school at Auburn. I hadn't made a decision, which they are also blue and orange. And she sends me a note, honey, I'm so sorry, but you know, blue and orange are not allowed to be together in our house. So you have to pick one or the other. And so I
that's
have this
amazing.
beautiful blue quill
I
with a
love
very
it.
small orange spot on the back of it
That
because
is
they were not
amazing.
allowed.
That is actually amazing. I love it.
All right, last and final question. What marketing conference would make the best reality TV?
Mine, Guru Conference. It's insanity. I mean, the behind the scenes, the amount of cursing that goes on. We're off camera when things are going sideways, with the team working on stuff and everything not going perfectly is wild. We need to have like cameras on us while we're all doing it. So I love it all. The chaos is the good part.
Well, maybe you and I will have to put our heads together and pitch Bravo
There you
to
go.
do a guru conference
Yes.
reality show,
I'm
and
in.
we can host it. And I've always wanted there to be a reality show about our industry, but no one's willing to show all the behind the
I'm
scenes
in it.
dirty
I'll
work.
show anything. I could care less.
I agree. So, all
Yeah.
right, Bravo, Celsius,
Let's
hit us
do it.
up. We're
Let's
ready for a
go.
reality
Let's
show.
go.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. There's so many good nuggets that you gave our audience today, and we really appreciate the time and look forward to being at Eventastic in a few weeks.
Thank you so much for having me. This was amazing.